Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Horsepower Obsessed. My name is Justin, and today we're going to talk about the C8 Corvette and if it really is actually sold out. Alright guys, so by now I'm sure you've all read that the C8 Corvette is close to being sold out. There's a lot of information that is not necessarily being talked about in the way that it should, and some of the actual GM employees' words got twisted whenever this was reported. So the car is not sold out. Not in the traditional sense, at least. And what I mean by that is basically you can still buy one, you might just not get one right away. All of the dealerships I've talked to about this car, when we can expect it, how to allocate it, etc., have all told me the same thing. The car will be built starting December and will show up on the dealer lots in January. That is only if you get the first wave of allocations. Each dealership gets a different amount of allocations, but once their first wave has been completely burnt through, the second wave will come later in the year. For the second wave, I was told as early as March, as late as May, for the next wave of allocations to be built and shipped to their lot. Now, basically what this means is that the C8 Corvette has gone almost entirely through its first wave of allocations. Still very impressive. Still very interesting to see that this car is selling this well, especially since there has been no official price set by GM yet. So people are putting in allocations, putting down deposits, getting this car built, and they don't even know what it's going to cost yet. Now, of course, allocations are refundable at this point. Typically, they're between $1,000 or $2,000 to start the process of getting this car put in your name. And if something were to happen and GM came out and said that the car that you were customizing ended up being $95,000 and you weren't okay with that, you could just get your $1,000 deposit back. But with that said, the first round of allocations has almost been entirely eradicated, meaning basically you're not going to get this car as early as January if you haven't gotten your allocation put in just yet. There's a lot of confusion around the phrase sold out. And the biggest issue I'm seeing is a lot of people think that if it's sold out, they're never going to get one unless it's something secondhand or someone sells their allocation at a very marked up rate. That's not the case here. Like I said, it's simply the first wave of allocations. You will definitely end up getting one of these cars a little bit later than the people who allocated it in that first wave. Not long ago, I read an article stating that GM had very big intentions of selling as many of these cars as fast as they possibly could, and a lot of that has basically been confirmed by the fact that GM has revamped the Bowling Green, Kentucky plant to give it more size and more volume to just allow as many cars as possible to be pumped out of this plant. Obviously, if GM intends on pushing out as many of these cars as possible, sold out is not something you're going to hear very often. In 2014, when Chevrolet first started making the C7 Corvette, they were able to sell 34,839 of them. So to say that the C8 Corvette has at least 30,000 units ready to be shipped for the first year is likely an understatement. With the revamped Bowling Green, Kentucky plant, we're looking at an even bigger amount of C8 Corvettes that can be shipped in the first year. So then, with that said, what that tells me is that this C8 is wildly popular. People are definitely snatching it up. And of course, any marketing person knows if you restrict some of the availability right off the bat, it creates an even bigger demand for the car. Just ask Apple with the way that they sell their iPhones. They do a very similar thing. They purposely make it look like there is a shortage and then the demand grows. The same kind of stuff happens with these cars. The same thing happened with the C7 Corvette, and they still managed to sell almost 35,000 of them in the first year. So basically what this all boils down to is no, the car's not sold out. You can probably still get your first wave allocation at certain dealerships, but if you're okay with waiting another couple months, you'll still get one. It's not completely sold out where you're never going to get one of these cars unless you get it used or purchase someone's allocation at a marked up rate. That's not the case here. A lot of articles out there are kind of reporting news about this car stating it's sold out as kind of a clickbait type thing. It's not sold out, guys. So if you want the car, you're definitely going to get one. You might just get it a couple months later than someone else. Apparently, GM actually went on the record after this whole comment was made and said sales are going fantastically at a record pace, but absolutely wishing the original statement had not been made. And of course, that statement was that the C8 was almost sold out. So that's GM going on the record saying that's not true. And basically everything we discussed earlier in this video is how it's actually going to work. So it's getting close to being sold out for the first wave of allocations, but if you jump on it now, you're still going to get it. The C8 Corvette has been widely discussed for a long time and well before it actually arrived on stage. Some loved it and some hated it before it ever even showed its face. In the beginning, when I first started making C8 Corvette videos, I was seeing somewhere around a 50-50 love-hate situation, but it was really split right down the middle. After July 18th and that thing finally showed up on the stage for real, all of that changed. The C8 Corvette, of course, has a huge following at this point, so it's not hard to believe when you read a title saying that the 2020 C8 Corvette has sold out, but straight from GM, this isn't true. The next little piece of information here I actually came across on the Corvette blogger, and it was a little bit of the actual front end lift of the C8 Corvette in action. And it's pretty interesting to see. It's not anything earth-shattering. You guys have all probably seen a front-end lift at some point. But with this one being tied into a GPS system, it's a little interesting on the way it's going to work. But it's definitely going to be awesome to have a feature like that finally in a car that sits this low. The only thing that kind of worries me in this clip is the sound it makes whenever it's lifting. Now, I know these cars are not your typical production model, so a lot of this stuff may not necessarily be 100% what you get if you buy this car, but at the same time, it's an interesting sound. I know a couple months back, I actually visited my friend Jason, front seat driver, down in Texas, and he has the front end lift on his Lamborghini Gallardo. I don't recall hearing any noise like this. Whenever the front went up, and when it went back down, it was silent. I'm not saying it's going to necessarily be an issue, but it's definitely interesting that there would be that much of a difference in the two front-end lift systems. Anyway, guys, I'm going to play the clip here for you now. Let me know what you think of this front-end lift down in the comments below. The last bit of information that I have read recently is, again, of course, a rumor, but it suggests that the ZR1 moniker will not be present in the C8 Corvette lineup. So basically, we're going to have the base Stingray, the Z06, and then it's going to go straight to the ZORA model, and it's going to completely bypass the ZR1. This is interesting because typically, GM likes that ZR1 moniker as their top of the line, but everybody knows ZORA was the guy with the mid-engine setup Corvette. So the fact that they would skip right over that and go straight to the ZORA moniker is definitely an interesting twist. Even though the ZR1 basically stood for ZORA, actually putting the ZORA name on it will be very interesting to see. Now, of course, the rumors out there suggest the ZORA model is going to have 1,000 horsepower, a hybrid engine setup, and a bunch of active aero pieces. If all of that comes true, the ZORA model will definitely be a contender for any supercar out there, especially since the base model basically already is. The real last bit of information actually comes as I was filming this video. I found a piece of paper that was scanned and put up on a Facebook group claiming to be the actual pricing for the C8 Stingray and the 1LT, 2LT, 3LT, as well as some carbon fiber effect packages and carbon fiber spoiler packages. If this is actually the real pricing, it looks like the car is going to top out at around $75,000 before any kind of exposed carbon fiber packages. And if you chose both of those boxes, you're looking at a little over $80,000. This is actually kind of funny because this is what I thought the price was going to be originally with the 3LT and all the carbon fiber stuff. I said around $80,000 to $85,000. There was something that came out a while ago that claimed to be real for about 2 days that showed that the car fully optioned out was going to be around $111,000. That actually turned out to be fake, but this one actually looks pretty legit. And based on my original thoughts, it kind of fits into what I thought the car was going to be priced at as well. As you know, none of the pricing is official yet, so take any of these rumors with a grain of salt. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. So if you want to get a C8 Corvette, you want to get out there and get it done as fast as possible because they are selling at a record pace according to GM, but they are not sold out. GM literally went back on record and said that they wish that that hadn't been said because that's not exactly the case. Either way, you guys are going to want to get your allocations in as soon as you possibly can if you want to get this Corvette ASAP. But go ahead and give me a big thumbs up, guys, if you like this video. If you have any questions about the C8 Corvette or anything else, shoot them in the comments down below. I'm always happy to hear from you guys. If you have not subscribed yet, please do. I have loads of C7 and C8 content coming, so you're definitely going to want to check that stuff out. And as always, guys, I'll catch you in the next upload.